I'm now going to show you some of the effects, and first of all we'll use transform, but not the first transform we did. And I'm going to show you sometimes you need to do a little bit of tidying up in terms of scale. Now we can see this video here is from GoPro. GoPro is a different format, and so with GoPro you'll often get these black bars on the side. Now you can either just expand the video, or you can actually stretch it out a little bit so that it fills those spaces. And I'll show you how to stretch it out to fill those spaces. So once again, whenever you want to affect any clip, you have to highlight it first and make sure you're in effect controls. You know, there's the source. We go into effect controls, and then we open up video effects. And we go down here to distort, and we open up transform and drop that into here. And what I mostly want to show you here is just actually how to scale the height and the width. And now the position and the anchor point you can also move within the other motion functions up here, so I won't show you that. And this just happens to be if you need to stretch it out or diminish it in one place. So here, if you want, you can open this, and with the toggle switch you could actually shrink it or grow it. Now that would make the proper aspect ratio, but it's not going to fit. So you stretch that back again to where it was, and then you scale the width. There, that's quite easy. And then you remember these numbers, 129, scale the height. Well, the height should still be just left at 100 where it was. So remember this number here. You can even copy and paste. So if you have a whole series of GoPro clips, you'll just remember that number. You just have to type it in. Now, let's try an effect I've never done before here, and this would be, let's try skew. So there we go. And again, here you have rotation. Remember, rotation you also have up in motion. So a number of these functions you can actually use more than once. So we'll just kind of spin that around there. And remember once again that you can, if you just simply spin it around and rotate it, but you don't actually put a keyframe, it'll stay the same in there. But if you actually put the keyframe in there, and put some random number in there, it should actually spin around. There you go. Okay, so those are some of the distort things, and that's transform, which is in distort. If you don't like some of the effects that you've done, you can actually just undo them by pressing these little tabs right here, or actually clicking on this and deleting it, but then it would delete all of the different things that you did. So we could get rid of skew here, bring that back to 0, and we could get rid of rotate. Now, it looks upside down, but that's actually how the video started in the first place. So you see, well, we still got a little bit of rotation in there. That's because we put keyframes in there. So what we could do is just delete all of the keyframes here. There we go. We're back to 0. Okay. Okay, we're going to do a little bit more distortion with lens distort and spherize, and then we'll move on to image control and color. So once again, you highlight the clip that you want to work with, and we're down here in effects, and we're looking at distort. And we're going to bring spherize up there. And I actually already have lens distortion. So I'm going to do effects and then I'll erase them and then. So for Spherize, it's actually quite easy. You can just pick a certain point and then you actually create sort of a lens spherical effect on there. So we could take the radius here. I'll actually open the toggle so you can see more what I'm doing and just drag it back and forth. And you'll see that you can, it's sort of, you get these on photo booth and things like that. You need to fatten your cheeks up. And with this one here, you could actually move the center a little bit. Down to there, up to there. That's where you see it's this center of the sphere. Just by dragging the numbers back and forth, you can actually sort of move that sphere around. Now, of course, you know that you can actually move it as you go. So, for example, you could take somewhere in the clip here, we'll put this down, and we will put both in radius and center, we'll actually put a keyframe. We'll just move this down a little bit. We will actually move this sphere somewhere else. I don't know exactly where this will show up. And so it's in a different spot. So you'll see that as you kind of move through the image, that sphere is going to move.
Think this is a little bit better?
I don't know exactly where it went to. Maybe we can put this here down at a slightly different area. Put that at 700, and that should drop it somewhat. There we go. So that's Spherize. And I think what I want to do is I just want to undo that. Get rid of the Spherize. Now let's go to lens distortion. And you can actually change the sort of the focal length, all sorts of different aspects of the lens. You can use it as correction or as distortion as you like. Now, right here it's got this, the fill. Now, what happens is when you distort the image, you're going to get blank spots. You can actually change that color there. So we'll just see what these different things here do. We could work with curvature. That's a little bit like Spherize, and with that you can actually correct a lot of lens distortion that you already have. Vertical decentering, horizontal decentering, let's say vertical prism. Might want to get rid of some of these here so you can see what the other ones do. And horizontal prism. Now you could also change this color if you like. There we go. Okay, so that would be the lens distortion.
Yeah, I just adjusted my watch. Okay. Yeah, sure. I'd be happy to.
Now I'm going to go over to another clip here. I've kind of destroyed that one. And we'll just work a little bit with color correction. And you'll see different things that you can do with that. Actually, I'll work with image control. So a fun one to work with is color balance right here. And with this one, what I want to do is, I want to start with keyframes right here so that we can make an image that changes color as you move. So I'm just going to move this, we're going to start with regular color. I'm just going to move this a few frames down. And then we're going to, let's say, increase the red and decrease the green and decrease the blue. So that makes it really nice and red. And then we can move on a little bit here. We'll decrease the red and increase the green. And then move it a little bit further along. And that back up to 0. We'll bring the green down again. And bring up the blue. eliminate the red. There you go. And then what we want to do is bring all these back to 100. And that should bring the color back to normal. Now you'll see as we go through, you get this very nice kind of transition from one color to the next.
Is this better? Yeah. I just adjusted the clock on the camera, so the sound should be working right now. Yeah. I'd be okay helping and things like that.
There you go. That's one of the many takes of that. What I'm going to show you now is how to apply a transition and then how to manufacture your own transition in case you need one that they're not supplying. So you go into effects here and you go down to video transitions. That's simple enough, and we will open dissolve, and I'm going to put one dip to black. Now with transitions, once again, you can change the actual length of them over in preferences. And this one's actually quite small, which I think I want a little bit bigger. So that's actually 1 second. And I'm going to change that one to 2. Okay. And I'm going to go into preferences and generally change them to 3 seconds, and then you can always shrink them if need be. Because I want each one to be, I want to put different ones on there. So we did one dip to black, and then we'll do a cross dissolve, and a cross dissolve actually combines the two together. You'll see here. And then if you want to do sort of, silly ones that aren't dissolves, you could do something like a cube spin. I would avoid these, to be honest. And you might try, I don't know, barn doors. There we go. I never use them, so I don't know what they do. There you go. Now you can actually look at each one as we go through. So now I'm going to show you how to actually manufacture your own transition here. And what you need to do, it's quite simple what you do. You could probably figure it out yourself. But you need to overlay them, and it all depends on how long you want the transition to be. So you need to go into Effect Controls and put the cursor right there at the very beginning of Snails. And then you could go into Opacity. And what you do is immediately you would put a keyframe onto it right there. So it's at the beginning of Snails and where you want it in the other film there. So then you just drag this along to the end, and this you just drag down to 0. And then in the Snails movie, at this point, what you want to do is the same thing with opacity. You actually put one keyframe where it's at 100% and reverse this the other way. And at that point, you put 0. Now with this one, of course, you can actually change the curvature, the change in opacity. For example, you could right here, where it would be roughly at around 50, you could put this at 75, so you actually change a little bit how this transitions. Now we'll see what that transition looks like. And the last thing I want to show you here is just audio transitions, which are even, I would say, easier than video transitions. You can do exactly the same thing with volume as I showed you with opacity, which volume I showed you earlier with the pen tool. But here we've got a number of fairly easy to use transitions for sound. So, and here we go to audio transitions, crossfade, and you can try all three of these, see which one works better for you. And then in each of these, you can actually change also the length of the transitions just simply by grabbing one edge of it with the this tool here, the
Selection tool.
You can just stretch them out. Or you can double click on it once again, and if you know exactly the size that you want, you can just type it in there.
Hi there. Hi there. Okay.
Start so loud.
You didn't swear for 5 seconds.
Like, sing it top.
Okay, that's how to do transitions. So that's it for effects today, and what I want you to do is go into the effects toolbox and get a few clips and do as many effects as you can.